Hello students, in the previous class we have discussed about the functions of commercial banks. We discussed the primary functions as well as the secondary functions. Today I am going to explain you one more most important activity of the commercial banks, which is called as credit creation or money multiplier. This is money creation or credit creation, which I said also called as money multiplier. Now money multiplier, as these two words are suggesting, money is being multiplied in the economy. So this is a theory which we have to understand, that how with a few initial deposits, with a small amount of initial deposits, the money is multiplied in the economy through the banks. Before understanding this theory, we should understand that there are two assumptions. First assumption is all the activities of the banks in the economy are regulated or considered to be one. It means that all the banks in the country are considered to be the one unit. This is what I have written. Banking system is one unit. Banking system comprises of all the banks in the country. They are considered to be one. Second is all the receipts and payments being done in the economy are routed through banks. It means that we have to assume if Mr. A has to pay to Mr. B, he will pay through the bank account only. If Mr. B will be required to pay to Mr. C, he will be paying through bank account only. So all the transactions are to be routed through banks only. There are no cash transactions done in the economy. Now, when there are all the commercial banks running in the economy, all these are regulated through Reserve Bank of India. When we talk about the country India, it means that all the central banks are regulating the commercial banks in all the countries. Now, Central Bank of our country is Reserve Bank of India, and Reserve Bank of India gives some rules and regulations as well as licensing on some conditions which are to be fulfilled by the banks. Now, when we talk about the functions, primary functions, the main function is to accept the deposit and to lend, that is giving the loans, advancing the loans. So when deposits are being accepted, it is done by multiple people, or we consider that it is done by households. Household is a sector which is generally considered to be the depositing sector. It means that people deposit the money in the bank. Bank accept these deposits. But instead of keeping these deposits idle, bank has to keep a particular cash reserve which is called as legal reserve ratio, and this limit which I am taking 20% is to be specified by the Reserve Bank of India. Now when suppose initially a person deposited 1000 rupees in bank, as per the cash reserve, means this is the particular amount which bank has to retain with itself, it cannot lend. That proportion is coming to 20% as specified by RBI. So if total deposit is 1000, 20% is retained and the leftover money can be lent. So bank is lending 800 rupees, that is 80% of the total deposits. Now when this 800 is being lent, in second round what will happen, as all the transactions are to be routed through banks only, other person who has taken this money will deposit the same in the bank in one way or other, that is either for payment to be made to somebody else. Suppose he is going to purchase a machinery, he will be paying for it. So that transaction will also be routed through the bank. So in second round, this 800 rupees which is lent by the bank in first initial way is now in first round coming to bank again. Again the bank is retaining 20% of it and lending 640. That is 80% of 160, and the same system will go on. Now what is happening? Initially the deposit is 1000 rupees only. Further, what the bank is doing as per the regulation of RBI, bank is retaining 20% and the leftover amount is lent. Then again this lent money, because of second assumption, is coming to bank account again. Then 20% of this is retained, and in first round 640 can be lent. In again this 640 is coming to bank account, and the lent money is 512, that is 80% of 640. So in this way the system will continue till the LRR will become 1000. And you know, when the LRR will become 1000, total deposits will be 5000. Now how to calculate this? It is not possible to go on calculating for a lot of rounds which are going on in the economy. So the formula for calculating money multiplier is 1 by LRR, that is 1 divided by 20%. 20% means 0.2, which is coming to 5 times. When by it means that 5 times of the initial deposit is being increased in the economy. Initial deposit was 1000, so total deposit will come to 5000, that is initial deposit into money multiplier. So I hope the system is clear to you, but this is important to understand that it is depending upon the LRR. Say suppose LRR we have taken 20%. Now let us take LRR 25%. If LRR will be 25%, money multiplier will be 1 divided by 0.25, that is 4. So total deposits will be 4000, that is 4 multiplied by the initial deposit. Money multiplier multiplied by initial deposit, that is 1000 into 4, that is coming to 4000. So if the amount of LRR will be more, that is the percentage to be retained in the bank will be more, the total deposit will keep on decreasing. If banks are required to retain less and they can lend more, definitely the total deposits will increase. So in this way, the money is multiplied in the economy through the money multiplier concept, that is, which is implemented by commercial banks. The next part of this chapter is the functions of central bank. Central bank is actually the apex body which directs, controls, regulates the entire banking system of the country. When a country is financially developed, it has its own central bank. The central bank of our country, India, is Reserve Bank of India, which was established on 1st April 1935, and since then the whole banking system of the country is regulated by the central bank, that is Reserve Bank of India. So let us discuss the functions of central bank. First and foremost important function of central bank is it is the currency authority. Currency authority, or we can say the issuing authority of the country. RBI has sole right of issuing paper currency notes except 1 rupee note and coins. These 1 rupee notes and coins are issued by Ministry of Finance. All the currency issued by central bank is its monetary liability. It means that every asset, that is the note, or you can say currency, that is backed by the equal value with that of any gold reserve or any equivalent kind of asset, so that the public confidence in the paper currency can be maintained. So such assets which back the currency of the country can be gold coins, gold bullions, foreign securities, or it may be domestic government local authority currency securities. RBI is given the sole authority of issuing notes. The reason and the advantages behind this are: it leads to uniformity in note circulation. The central bank has power to influence money supply because currency with public is a part of money supply. It enables the government to have supervision and control over the central bank with respect to issue of notes. It ensures public faith in the currency system, as there will be uniformity and there will be stability in the internal and external value of currency. Next function is central bank act as banker to the government. The Reserve Bank of India act as a banker, agent as well as financial advisor to the central government and even to all the state governments. As a banker, there are various functions which are to be performed by the central bank. First of all, the cash balances of government are maintained in the current accounts with the RBI. Then secondly, it accepts all the receipts and make payments for government when their exchanges are required or remittances are required or any other banking operations are required. The payments and receipts are done through RBI. It also gives loans and advances to the government for temporary periods. The government, it means that, may borrow from the central government by selling treasury bills. Central bank also act as an agent because the public debt responsibility is managed by the central bank, and it also act as a financial advisor. All these 3 points are covered under the same head, that is banker to the government. As a financial advisor, the central bank give time to time economic, financial and monetary advices to the government. Third important function performed by central bank is bankers bank and supervisor. There are many commercial banks in a country. All of them are regulated and supervised for their functioning by RBI. So as it is an apex bank, that is apex body, apex means the superior, the supreme one. So as central bank is the apex bank, it acts as banker to other banks also, as it is acting for the government. It means that all the banks have to open an account in RBI in their own name, through which the cash reserves are regulated. So as banker to banks, the central bank functions in 3 capacities. First is custodian of cash reserves. All the commercial banks are required to keep a certain proportion of their deposits. That is called as cash reserve ratio with the central bank. Suppose the deposit of a bank is 1000, which is coming from the household, or we can say from the general public, or we can say from anywhere. If the bank is accepting the deposit, RBI has to take, and the bank has to send a particular proportion, say 10% or 20% as fixed by the government and RBI, to RBI in the account which is opened in the name of commercial bank. So it acts as custodian of cash reserve of commercial bank. Second, it acts as lender of the last resort. Lender of the last resort means, in any case, if commercial banks fail to meet the financial requirements from any other sources, if the approaches are there, They may approach the central bank to give loans and advances as lender of the last resort. It means that if on a call from the public or from any individual, the bank is unable to pay off the liability instantly, they may ask for the loan from central bank. Third is clearing house. Central bank it holds the cash reserves of commercial banks. It becomes easier and more convenient for it to act as a clearing house. Clearing house in the sense all commercial banks have their accounts with central bank. So central bank can easily settle the claims between two banks. Suppose bank A has taken loan from bank B and bank B is asking for the money back, but A is denying. So the central bank will act as a mediator and the claim will be settled, or it may be settled through the cash reserve kept with the bank if the things are fine genuine. So in this way, the clearing function is also performed by the central bank. Central bank also act as a supervisor because it regulates and controls the commercial banks. The regulation of banks may be related to their licensing, branch expansion, liquidity of assets, management, merging, or even winding up. The control is exercised by periodic inspection of banks and the returns filed by them. Last and most important function performed by central bank are controller of money supply and credit. This is a major topic. Let us discuss this topic one by one, because under this head again there are 5 important points. Controller of money supply and credit. The most important function of central bank, according to which the money supply is regulated in the economy. Let us understand all its concepts one by one. First is the repo rate. Repo rate is also called as repurchase rate. Repurchase rate is actually the rate of interest on which the central bank lends money to commercial bank. When central bank lend money to commercial bank, that money may be further utilized to lend the loans to the general public, or we can say to the other parties. This repo rate is specifically for short-term needs of the economy. So, if there will be increase in repo rate as it is regulated by central bank, if repo rate, that is the rate of interest on which central bank will lend to commercial bank, it increases, it means the cost of loans increases. When cost of loan is increasing, the lending rates also increases. Lending rate means the rate at which commercial banks will be able to lend to other people, and ultimately when the availability of the money, that is loans, will be at higher rate, the people will be discouraged to take the loans from banks. So the demand of loan will decrease. So if there will be more money supply in the country, then the discouraging of loans can be done by increasing the repo rate. But vice versa is also applicable. When money supply is less and it is to be increased to control the fluctuations in the prices, repo rate may be decreased. When RBI will decrease the repo rate, the cost of loans will decrease. When the cost of loans will decrease, the lending rates will decrease. When the lending rates will decrease, the demand for loans will increase, because people will be able to get the loans at very low rates. So in this way, the repo rate system is regulated. Second is bank rate. Bank rate is actually the rate of interest at which central bank lend to commercial bank, but for fulfilling the long-term needs. This is the only difference between repo rate and bank rate. Both are the interest rate, but repo rate is utilized for fulfilling the short-term needs, whereas bank rate is utilized for fulfilling the long-term needs. Now the system is saying when the bank rate will increase. If RBI increases the bank rate, the cost of loans will also increase. Same way the lending rates will increase, and when the lending rates will increase, the people will be able to avail the loans or to get the loans from the banks at higher rates. So their demand will be discouraged. When the demand will be discouraged, the money supply in the economy will be controlled, and there will be no further requirement, no further extension of money supply in the market. And the vice versa is again applicable as it was applicable in repo rate. That is, if the bank rate decreases, the cost of loans also decreases, lending rate will also decrease, and the demand for loans will increase because loans will be available at very handsome or very less interest rate. Third is open market operations. Open market operations means the central bank either sells or buys government securities or treasury bills to commercial banks or public. Whether it is sold to commercial banks or public hardly matters, because the amount, the sum of money is regulated to bank accounts only. So actually government securities and treasury bills are the documents, just the certificates which are held by the central banks, and it is sold to the people, that is public, or to the commercial banks to control the money supply. Now how the money supply will be controlled? By just mere selling certificates. Suppose Mr. A is buying the certificates from the central bank. When Mr. A is buying the certificate, he is transferring his money to the bank account. So money supply from the country is extracted. The money is extracted and it is coming to the bank account. Now when there is more money supply in the market, because of which inflation may take place, the banks, that is the central bank, decide to sell the government securities or the T-bills. So when central banks sell government securities, the money is extracted or diverted towards the banks and certificates went to the public or to the commercial banks. Now in this case, what is happening? The money is coming to the bank accounts, and ultimately the certificates are in hands of the public or the commercial bank, on which they will be able to get the interest. But by that time, the money supply will be controlled. The vice versa case is applicable here. Suppose there is less money supply in the market, government started purchasing these certificates from the public. As there is less money supply, people are in need of money, they sell it to the central bank again on calls, and the money is diverted towards the public, which is actually belonging to the public or the commercial bank only. Next is legal reserve ratio. Legal reserve ratio is actually the most direct and very easy method to control the money supply in hands of central bank. Actually in this system, a particular ratio which is legally approved to be kept out of the deposits. What kind of deposits? The net demand deposits, and second, the time deposits. These are the liabilities of the banks. The banks have to keep a particular percentage of these deposits as CRR or SLR. Now CRR is cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio means this is to be the minimum percentage of net demand and time liabilities to be kept with the central bank, for which we call the central bank the custodian of the banks. So every commercial bank has a bank account in the RBI, that is Central Bank of the country, and there this particular amount is to be kept. So cash reserve ratio is sent to central bank out of the total deposits, and statutory liquidity ratio is the ratio, that is the minimum percentage of again net demand and time deposits which the banks have to maintain with themselves. This is maintained because banks are required to pay off the liabilities on demand. Suppose a person who has deposited a particular amount in the bank, he may demand the 100% or some percentage of that deposit any time. So for that reason also this money is not lent and it is kept as reserve in the bank. So these are two kinds of ratios which are to be maintained by the commercial banks with the central bank and with itself. Now when there is more money supply in the country, when money supply is more, this ratio is to be increased because more money will be kept as reserve and less will be lent. On the other hand, when money supply is less in the economy, less amount of reserve is to be maintained, as we have seen in the previous video of money multiplier. When the LRR is increased, the total deposits decrease and vice versa. So this thing is happening here also. If there is less money supply in the market, then LRR, that is cash reserve ratio plus statutory liquidity ratio, may be decreased and the money can be regulated. So when money supply is more, the ratios are to be increased. When money supply is less in the economy, the ratios are to be decreased. The last point is the margin requirement. Margin requirement is actually the amount of loan which is to be borrowed minus the market value of security which is to be kept with the bank. Suppose a person is asking for a particular amount of loan. He has to keep a security, say some asset or land, papers or something like this, that is a valuable asset in the bank as custody. So margin requirement may be increased or decreased. If it is 40%, say a person is asking a loan for 6 lakh, then he has to keep a margin of 40% with that, and the total amount of the security which is to be kept must be 10 lakh. So 10 lakh was the market value of security and 6 lakh was the amount of loan lent to him. This is 6 lakh and the market value of security is 10 lakh. So the difference between two is called as margin, which is coming to 4 lakh, which is 40%. So 40% of the security amount. If this amount is increased or decreased, it may affect the money supply in the economy. How? Suppose on 10 lakhs security, we are offering loan of 6 lakhs. If it is inverse, that is margin is kept, instead of 40%, we are keeping it 60%. Then on a security of 10 lakh, a person will be able to have a loan of 4 lakhs only, which will not be acceptable. The reason behind this is the amount of loan is very less than that of the security kept. So definitely the person who is going to borrow will be discouraged to take the loans. So if the margin is increased, as in the said example, I have increased the margin from 40 to 60. the market supply, the money supply and borrowing capacity will be decreased, that is discouraged, and vice versa. So I hope how the money supply is controlled in the country through central bank, through the functions of central bank, you are very clear about this now. Thank you.